Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Time for another fun webinar from the Hawk Search team here. Today, we're going to be discussing our latest advancements in our Rapid UI version 6.2. I am joined today by a all-star team here. I'll do some introductions here first. My name is Jonathan Meyer. I'm one of the senior solutions engineers for the Bridgeline team. If you attend really any of our webinars, you've probably seen my face and know who I am. I'm also very frequently joined by my partner in crime here, Mr. John Murcott. Mr. John, why don't you go ahead and do a quick introduction as well?
Yep, absolutely. Hi, everyone. John Murcott. I run products and strategy. I always love these webinars, but this one in particular, because it's on a topic we don't always get into as much. Jordan, I'm going to pass it on to you as the third J. So you have to have a J in your name if you're on the product team here at Hawk Search. That includes Joyce, by the way, as well, and Jeremy. But go ahead, Jordan.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Jordan Coughlin. I'm a technical product manager, and my favorite part of my job is showing off all of these exciting new features that we have.
Yeah, and we're going to get into that today. First, I believe, John, you have some information to run through us on the Rapid UI, because I don't believe we've really gotten a chance to. We've talked about it in the past. I think it's come up in some of our other webinars for like release or just, quarterly releases, things like that. But why don't you give us an overview here? I know that we're really going to be focusing on just one piece of this, so don't everyone scramble when looking at this yet. But John, why don't you run us through this slide here in particular?
I know, and some people might be questioning, you're on 6.2, and now you're doing an overview? And it's just because there's so many other things to cover when we do these discussions, as Jonathan said, about Hawk Search itself and the features, and when you're logged in, and what we often refer to as the backend, when you're logged in to Hawk Search itself, or maybe we're doing a webinar and we're talking about our partners. How do I connect to an e-commerce tool, to a CMS, the information on the left-hand side here. But what we don't always get a chance to do is talk to the developers. What does what we call the front end, what does the website look like? How do I build that out? And that's why it's so great to have Jordan on the call too, because Jordan is a developer and he works on those pieces. So Jonathan, if you would just quickly go to the next slide, and then I'll shut up and you guys can get into the details and do a demo. On the next slide here, there's essentially three ways that you can get the information that is stored, managed, merchandised, etc., inside of Hawk Search on your website. In some cases, people say, look, we just want to hit your API. We hit the API, the search endpoint returns JSON, and I'll figure out how I want to render that data. In other cases, customers say, well, look, we already use a framework. We use Vue, we use React, and you have an SDK, kind of a wrapper around that API that gets us started, gives us a couple of libraries, etc., and I can use that within the rest of my development environment. And of course, yes, that is an option. I'm sure we'll do webinars on that too. But in other cases, customers say, don't you have a template? Don't you have a framework? Don't you have a layout that we could use that simplifies the process? I can still adjust it, but what do you offer that is more baked? And that is what we call Rapid UI. And you'll see when we go through the details here why we call it that. Because it is actually quite straightforward to implement. So let's break this down into two steps. Jonathan, first to go through, like, what does it look like? I understand like what you're kind of talking about here in the website, but let's take a look at a demo from the point of view of the front end, but really understanding a little bit what's going on underneath the covers. And then Jordan, let's get into the code. Open up your code editor and let's get a little deep here. So Jonathan, back to you.
Yeah. Let me go ahead and we'll get into that. Let me share the screen here. While I'm getting that shared up here, just a quick reminder, you might see that QR code down there in the bottom. We are always looking forward to doing more detailed demonstrations and deeper dives of these. So if what you're seeing is seeming interesting and you want to know more about it, want to have more of a tailored conversation, please go ahead and scan that QR code so we can go ahead and get a proper, fully dedicated demonstration of this functionality for you here. But in the meantime, we can give you a little bit more information around what we're talking about here when it comes to that Rapid UI on some live demonstrations here. Again, if you've seen some of our recent webinars, you've probably seen this site. It's kind of one of our go-to things now to show off this functionality within Hawk Search. And that is one of the key parts here. Kind of the larger part of this conversation is that this kind of ease of deployment is kind of a cornerstone now of how we're looking at developing features for Hawk Search. So as something gets developed within the tool, like the concept search, like the smart search and the image search and visual searching and all of that, we're really looking at baking that into the Rapid UI framework very quickly. So a feature gets developed, Obviously, we've got all the API support, all the SDK support, but we're really making sure that very quickly gets put into the rapid UI elements. But let's take a step back. Let's kind of run through this very quickly. What are we talking about when we're thinking about, well, what are the components of this? How does this break down? And so what Jordan will go through when we get a little bit more deeper into the code is kind of like, what do these pieces actually look like behind the scenes? But just so you understand kind of what's happening here on the live site, when we're thinking about rapid UI, it really is basically this entire, underneath the fold of the website here, everything beneath that is coming from within our rapid UI. That includes things like our autocomplete. So the search box that we're seeing here, being able to put in search terms and have, the full kind of autocomplete of product matches, popular searches, category searches, content matches, any of the kind of classic autocomplete functionality and instant engage functionality is fully supported within our search box. Of course, the faceting and filtering here. Let's actually go ahead and pull back in some results here. Let's say I'm looking for, again, those hiking shoes. It's what we always like to show off here when we're doing these searches, because it helps highlight some of the other functionality that's natively baked in as components of this rapid UI. So we've got our search box up here. Well, obviously, all the results are also a whole other component of that rapid UI. We want to be able to render that out, and not just render that out, but support all of the functionality that HawkSearch has within its merchandising, within its faceting and filtering. So when I've done this search for hiking shoes, not only are we, of course, displaying the results, you'll notice, of course, we're displaying the merchandising banner here. So full merchandising banner support, all those different campaign zones that you're familiar with within HawkSearch, fully supported within the rapid UI framework here. All the faceting and filtering, the ability to do quick lookups within that, the prices as sliders, the colors as swatches, scroll boxes, the ability to collapse and expand this. This is all native functionality of the core components that are being returned from rapid UI. The other thing I'll highlight here is that you might be looking at this and going, well, this looks great, but this isn't what our website looks like. This is really just a starting point. This is like, hey, we want to get the components back to you, and then you can leverage, style sheets. You can do, you can even customize the templates that are being returned to really make this fit your site. But the idea here is that we're returning in the core components that are already rendered out and ready to go. You don't have to do a lot of coding to get this up and running on your site. Dropping in some simple JavaScript is, again, Jordan will walk through there, what is going to be able to power in all these responses. And what we're doing then on top of this is then saying, okay, well, now we've got kind of the core search functionality. As I mentioned, one of the exciting things about this rapid UI approach is that it really allows us to take the cutting edge features that we're developing behind the scenes here, that John and Jordan and everyone on the product team are putting their heads behind and developing. It allows us to very quickly get a front end component of that available. So we've talked a lot over the year about our concept search. We of course have that fully supported here. Being able to put in those concept search keywords in here and pull back in the full concept, that large language model response, still driving the faceting and filtering and the full response here in terms of the product display. The rapid UI component then also does support the image and visual search aspects of this. So being able to, this is again, all components of that rapid UI. So being able to toggle over to that visual search, have that, mobile ready response as well, to be able to say, I can tap now, upload an image and pull up, obviously in a mobile device. This would be a local file browser kind of thing here, but being able to support that, upload the image, have the AI analyze that, pull back in the response, being able to leverage the image description search. So being able to say, hey, I need a hat that is fuzzy in pink, and being able to then go ahead and have that return. And again, this is all just leveraging those components of that rapid UI. The visual search box up here is a component of that. The, again, faceting and filtering search results are a component of that. And we're going even further than this. So one of the other more exciting things that we haven't gotten a chance to really show a whole lot on these different HawkSearch webinars is one of the newer features, our smart response, which allows us to analyze the results that are being returned and provide some additional guidance to a visitor. So being able to come into our concept search here, and let's do that same search. I need coat for my son, and pulling back in the results here. We're getting back in the same relevant concept search, large language model based results here. But then our smart response is analyzing those results and making suggestions for, well, what might be the next best step for your visitor? Provide kind of that guidance in the shopping experience. And the exciting thing about this component of the smart response here is that, again, this is natively baked into our rapid UI. So this is not something that, you need to get another developer to suddenly leverage this exciting functionality. It's a part of that rapid UI feature set. But that this is behind the scenes is something that we can also tweak. We've had examples where clients want to make this more of a, let's provide navigation assistance on where someone might want to further refine their search results. Let's provide, compare and contrast between our top products. The response that we're seeing here in the Smart Response is fully configurable to meet what your business goals needs are. And again, the front end implementation of that is really straightforward. And that's kind of the goal here, is to get these new cutting edge features very easily being able to be deployed on your site. And you might be thinking, okay, well, I'm already a HawkSearch client. I've already gone through my front end implementation. We're already in a spot. One of the nice things about how we have handled this is that it's not an either or scenario. If you're already using API and you want to start leveraging Rapid UI for maybe some of the smart response functionality or for some recommendations, you can take advantage of that functionality without having to change the front end implementation. You can be using both at the same time. The really exciting thing here, though, is that we have another step on this journey. One of we really haven't even gotten a chance to show this at all in any of the webinars, is that we now have a conversational search as a part of HawkSearch. And this is, again, now baked into our Rapid UI. So being able to go into, again, let's do that same search here, because we can get some, we're familiar with what those responses look like. So I can say, hey, I need a coat for my son. And we'll, of course, get back in the relevant results there from the large language model keyword search. But now we have another toggle here where we can go into this. And this is now going to give us a conversational option here. And this will then give us the ability to say, well, what is the response that we want to pull back in from here? So I can say, okay, I've got back in these results here. And I can say, what jacket is weatherproof out of these results here. And so then now the conversational search is looking at what our results are that have been returned from that large language model. And now we're able to go ahead and pull back in relevant results from this. The conversational search, we were able to ask a question of the data that was returned. It then analyzes the results that have been returned. And different than what the smart response is, where it's kind of that prepackaged, hey, here's the guidance that we want to give you. This allows your visitors to interact with those search results and drive the experiences that they're looking to get, the information that they're looking out of it. So I've asked for what's weatherproof jackets. We're getting back in the suggestion here from the generative AI, looking at the results, analyzing those, and telling us now, hey, here are all the waterproof jackets that we're seeing within the results here. I can even say, like you can see here, what has the best insulation. And you'll notice that I'm dropping off the actual item that I'm looking for, because the conversational search knows what we're talking about now. I don't need to provide the term that I'm looking for, a jacket or a coat, or what the specific item is. I can just ask questions about those results, and it'll then analyze those, and again say, okay, we're furthering our conversation around what these results are, and it's going to go ahead and then give us the best answer for those, pulling back in several suggestions for us. Hey, letting us know about the specifically designed features of this. And this is kind of the initial implementation of this. This is, again, one of those things that we can really configure a little bit more in terms of presentation. But we wanted to really highlight the fact that this is another exciting AI feature that HawkSearch now has access to. And on top of that, it is natively a part of our Rapid UI framework, where this is just, again, another component that we can drop in, just like we were looking at the smart response, just like we're looking at, the search box itself, the fasting, the filtering. These are all just different components of Rapid UI that we can drop in that can then be further tailored through style sheets, through editing the template if you want to. And it's a very straightforward process. I'm going to pass it over to Jordan to get more into the weeds. So while I keep saying it's a very straightforward process here, there are some things that we can do behind the scenes that can really take you to the next level there. And we want to just kind of give you a little bit peek behind the curtain of how this all comes together. So Jordan, I'm going to pass it over to you. We're going to share your screen here, and we can get into the next part of this conversation.
Great. Thank you very much, Jonathan. Hopping right into it. So if you're just getting started with HawkSearch, it's your first time here and you're trying to get onto your feed as quickly as possible, I would definitely recommend checking out our quick start guide here. If you want to listen to Jonathan's beautiful voice a little bit more, he narrates all these videos. We have excellent Postman collections to get your data into the index, and once your data is in the index, that's when you can start to leverage Rapid UI. If you just want to take a look around, we even have sample products. You'll end up with a index that looks remarkably like the one that we've been showing you. But yeah, that's the best place to get started. Jumping into that, we have some documentation on Rapid UI, and I'm just going to take us through what a beginner implementation using Rapid UI looks like. It'll look kind of bare bones, but that's just because I'm showing off how simple it is to drop in the components. Obviously, you'll want to change some of the styling, and we have some Rapid UI examples with styling. So we have a couple of info sheets here. If you follow this link, we have all of the possible components, all of the configuration, all of the syntax is listed here. From there, we'll hop right into it and actually take a peek at the code. So I'm just going to grab this code snippet here, and all this contains is the script to pull in our handlebars package, as well as actually initializing the HawkSearch object here. So if we open this up, all of that's on this document is the bare bones to render an HTML page. I'll hop in here and drop this just below the style tag. And as you can see here, the only required parameter is a client ID, and that's really easy to track down in your admin panel here. I'll just show you where it is. So if you hop in here, go to admin and account information, it's right in there. I would pop it open, but we also have our API keys in there, so I'm going to steer away.
I was ready to hover over the stop sharing screen.
Thank you. Okay. So I'll plop that ID in right here. And then there's one other thing that you need to configure in order to just get up and running, and that is the search URL. And this is just the page that the search resides on your site. Without this, if you search something, it'll just redirect to the root. So we'll drop that in as well. And for me, it's just this path right here. All right, and that gets us all the JavaScript we need. And then from there, it's as simple as, well, I'm just skipping over these. These are some environment setting things that aren't necessary just to get off your feet. Once you start going towards a production environment, these are things that will need to be configured. But for now, it's fine to just waltz on down here and grab some snippets. So this is for the search bar. And what's wonderful about the search bar, this one line of code not only gets you the search bar, it also gets you your instant engage and autocomplete. So we'll just pop in here. No server required.
And there we go.
And you have your autocomplete right away. And as you can see, obviously, there's no results here. So we have to come down and just grab the results snippet as well.
And I think this is the really exciting part that I was trying to communicate there with that. These are all just different components that you can then call in and render, is what you're seeing here. Once you got kind of that initial configuration designed, it's as simple as dropping in these different tags and say, hey, I want to call in the search box. Hey, I want to call in the search results. And now you can see with those simple changes that you just made to that same document, now we've got basically a fully rendered website here from HawkSearch.
And just a peek behind the curtains, if you do a proof of concept with us, you're going to see a handlebars front end, and that's just because for us and the team, it's very easy to get up and running. I mean, a lot of the times, just to get us a front end and get our data index, it's like it's only like 30 minutes to get a front end configured and on its feet. My first time after I joined the company, building out a front end using Rapid UI, it took me like 20 minutes. And John actually just threw me under the bus and pointed me at the documentation because he wanted to make sure it looked good enough to get on our feet that quickly.
So Jordan is living proof that the documentation that we're looking at here in the user guide or the developer portal is working. And a quick aside here as well, Jordan, I don't want to talk over you too much here, but this is all on our developer portal. So this is all directly accessible. When you log into your Workbench now, you should actually see a link directly to our developer portal. This is right there. This is what we're looking at, is that developer portal information. So everything that we're referencing is already available out there in terms of documentation.
Totally. the next thing I just wanted to show off was some of those new features that are coming. So I'm just grabbing an updated NPM tag because this is not quite out to the public yet, but it is coming with our next handlebars release. And that is those smart response features. So I just updated that tag, and I'm not going to change anything else. Your data is already indexed. If you're already set up with concept search, all of these sorts of things will work. So I'm just going to update this to be the concept search field and leave the search results the same. I'm going to come back and do a little test search here. Sometimes it takes a second.
It could be cached or something like that.
Yeah.
Just reset the URL you're passing in default search.
Ah, yes, up in the URL.
Perfect.
Yeah. Good catch. That's why John's the boss here.
Well, I've only done it about 100 times myself.
And it's still cached. Okay. Well, I'm just going to hop on from that.
Yeah, and you can see if you refresh the page there that without that, it's asking for a concept search as part of that URL. Enter concept in the search box. So it's definitely pointing to the right thing. Might just be a little configuration issue on the back end. Again, we're doing this live, so there's an element of wanting to move through things and show you guys as we're doing this quickly.
Yeah. This is bringing in a more relevant search. Let me do.
You'll see the type is passed in the URL too. So the thing that's great, and we talk about this idea of tailored AI,
there we go,
is that we always pass the request through the same search framework. So if you have merchandising rules or other configuration settings inside of HawkSearch, they're all maintained, whether you're using the concept, the LLM aspect with AI, or you're doing a keyword search. They're all going through the same framework. It's just these new releases have new variables you can pass in, like what type of request is it, for example.
Yeah, it might be a little hard to see on this screen share here, but if you look at the very top in the URL, you can see it ends with request type concept search. And now you can see here, obviously the cache finally caught up to us. We are getting the relevant results similar to what we were seeing earlier there for that concept search.
Exactly. And then we can hop back in here and I'll just show how easy it is to add the Rapid UI component for Smart Response.
And again, that idea that this is just simple components that we're dropping in on top of a page. Add in that div tag. You refreshed it here, had some caching issues, but you can see that again that is already rendering out there to pull back in the right response for it. There we go.
So just like that. And then if you want to switch that to be conversational search. And just like that.
There we go.
You can ask something like compare the insulation of each of the jackets. Now, this is a rather large query. I'm asking it to look at everything here. So
you're really putting it to the test.
But it pulls in all of the data that you provide it. And this is something that we always stress during these conversations is this is just your data. This is only pulling in what's been indexed. It's not just going out and comparing your jackets in here to the ones across the internet. This is just using your data. There's no chance that it's going to go and show off someone else's products.
I think that's a real I want to drive that point home, is that it is we're just looking at your subset of data, that we're not going out to the internet. We're not suddenly saying, show me the best insulated jackets out of every jacket that's ever been created, or it really helps eliminate the idea that kind of hallucination that you hear a lot about in the news of like, oh, it's because it's trying to boil the oceans. It's instead here we're looking at just your set of data to parse through that information. So much more accurate responses, much more intelligent responses with this. And it just keeps it, so again, like you're talking about, we're not pulling in information that doesn't exist in your data set. And as John was mentioning earlier, we then support all of kind of the merchandising, the boosting, the burying, the entitlements. So if you had a catalog where only a portion of your audience could see, again, we work a lot in the B2B space, so maybe only 30% of my clients can see this catalog. When the way the conversational search is working here is it's looking at just the results that were returned for that individual. We're not going out and looking at everything within the entire search index is, again, just within those search results. So one of the great ways that we can continue to support those entitlements, those segmentations through the visitor targeting, even in situations like this with conversational search, is it's only looking at the results that have already been returned. So it already factors into all of that kind of entitlements there.
Exactly. So that's as simple as it is to get started with Rapid UI. John, I'm not sure if there's anything else you wanted to touch on.
But more,
yeah,
great job. Thank you. More components to come. So the next component is going to be the unified search bar. Jordan, you were showing how you could change that search bar. We'll have another one, which is just smart enough to know, is that a keyword search or is that a concept search? And you wouldn't have to have two, but we'll always keep the separate components. Maybe you do want a scenario where, like, this is where kind of people do their day-to-day. Let's say it's keyword search, but then over here you click a button, it does something and it calls back that other component. So when we add new components, we typically will keep the previous one because there could be advantages for, just using that component. So sometimes components merge functionality as well.
And because this was a bit more of a technical conversation, I want to make sure that people understand as well that, like, this can be a good tool. We use this internally, like Jordan was talking about, to help with some of the POCs that we build out and so on. But this can also be a great tool just for existing clients to test and troubleshoot issues that they might be having, right within the Rapid UI, without having to adjust their existing, front end production and front end. Let's go ahead and talk directly to HawkSearch by using the Rapid UI. And again, that idea of this being so simple to spin up and having all those different components supported, it just makes this very straightforward.
Yeah, and I can attest to its flexibility. I mean, all the time, John and I are going back and forth. Hey, can we change it so it just does this? Or can we change it so it just does this? Can you pass this data in? We have all sorts of hooks that you can grab onto and process some data beforehand, process some data before displaying, process it before the front end's completely loaded. We've got all sorts of flexibility. The styling is very configurable. The way the results return, that's super configurable. Yeah, as a developer, that's something I'm always looking for. I was a little bit nervous, honestly, when I joined the team and John said, we have this product that can solve all your questions. You drop two components on and it's rendering. Well, the first thing that pops into my head is, well, how flexible can this possibly be if it's just 3 lines of code? But no, you can customize it in all sorts of exciting ways.
It's on my end here, being a part of these kind of demonstrations and showing off what the tool is always capable of. It's become almost cliche for me to be like, oh, this site's using Rapid UI. Like, this is really impressive. I would have never thought this was just those different components being styled a little bit further. It's very exciting times, and I'm really excited that we've got this kind of functionality available for our customers now. Excellent. Well, we're coming up here. We'd scheduled a half hour. I think we did really good on kind of sticking to that time frame, believe it or not. We wanted to really kind of highlight, and for everyone who joined thinking, hey, I'm just getting some information on kind of the Rapid UI, you guys got a sneak peek on some of the new AI features for that conversational stuff. So I'm going to pop open here. We really appreciate everyone taking the time to watch this demonstration. Hopefully you got lots of good information. But again, we are always interested in having a more detailed conversation with any existing client that might be looking for more information. Anyone who might be watching this who's not currently a client, we want to make sure that we can get that information to you as well. So please scan that QR code, reach out to that hello@hawksearch.com, contact your account rep. If you're looking for more information, we'll be more than happy to have a detailed conversation, more detailed demonstration, whatever information you might be looking for. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you to John and Jordan for joining me today. It was a pleasure. I think we got a lot of good information out to the team, and we will look forward to the next conversation. Thanks, everyone.
Great.
Great.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.